183,669 miles. Looks like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's probably about 95 degrees or something like that. It is July 17th. Linda and Kitty are okay. And we are headed out to start kind of my official first day. So we'll have to see how things go. Possibly could be a new career. I'm going to give it about 3 days or so, and then do some feedback and tell you how I feel about it. And then I did get in touch with Chick-fil-A, a guy named Johannes out at the West Worth Village, or it's the West Worth area, Fort Worth, right by the National Air Station, or it's actually called the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base. It's a military naval air base. So it's the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base. I believe it's Westover Hills or something of that nature. And that's at Chick-fil-A. So real slow. They're real slow in responding, like super slow. So it is a leadership thing, so I have to figure out what's going on. I had to turn in a book review of how do you do it, Truett. And then I just wait, you know. But right now, we're starting something else, and I'm not really telling you everything about it. It's kind of security stuff. Anyway, all right. For some reason, it was like this is the most commercial place to put music. Right here, that they can get the most commercial music. Car went by, just perfect timing, you know, perfect timing. Don't forget about the roadside stand. They are gonna have fresh Texas produce. So they'll have fruits and vegetables. It's Fort Worth based. Curators and purveyors. So they've got like really fancy English on there too. It's right in front of the place called Old South. There it is, right there. Oh yeah, about Dune. So I don't know anything about the direction of Dune, just the David Lynch one, which was in the 80s, Kyle MacLachlan, which David Lynch saw as a failure, but I thought it was better than the new Dune, which got, I don't know, 12 Academy Awards or something. They got a lot. I don't know if it was 12, but it was many Academy Awards. I didn't like it that much, really, compared to the David Lynch Dune. It didn't really tell much of a story. It was mostly just action and then music and then action and then music. A lot of movies have lost their story. There's no like underlying thought between the characters. The acting's not very believable. And I thought the original Dune with Kyle MacLachlan, the acting was very believable and the characters had underlying thought. Like there seemed to be a story going on. This one, it just was action-based, dialogue, something mysterious, dialogue, something mysterious, dialogue, something mysterious, more music, and they need to cut like probably about 90% of the music out of that original, out of that remake, is what I meant to say. Out of the remake. It's not the original. The original is great. Everything's perfect about the original. I think it's one of David Lynch's best work. But this sequel Dune is just too much music and too much. The dialogue just, I didn't understand what the characters were really doing. I'd have to rewatch it like probably 100 times to understand that. I didn't understand it really. I'm not giving it a thumbs down though. I'm giving it about an 8 stars just for effort. But the original Dune, which is David Lynch, I give that one a 10. I think it's great. Although David Lynch didn't get final cut on it, so that's why he didn't like it. But it starts off just amazing, and just the characters all make sense, and everything's just rolling. You follow the story, you know exactly what's going on. But this sequel was just a bunch of fancy flash and trash, you know, which is what Hollywood has become, flash and trash. They don't even really have writers. You know, all the writers are on strike. And they're just kind of like just putting stuff up there, making it look pretty and acting all crazy, you know? It's like, you can clearly tell that's why it didn't win Best Picture. But it is visually arresting, of course. Yes, yeah. Visually, it's great. The cinematography is wonderful, but there's no story there. So if they can get it all right, think of Silence of the Lambs. You got great cinematography, a great story, you got great acting. That makes sense, right? There's no story in the sequel Dune or whatever, or the Dune Part 1. It's just some brat, some good-looking brat that looks like a GQ model running around screaming about mommy, and that's all I can understand. The original Dune has like the complete story. It follows the book. Everything's great. Okay. Here's another thing about Dune, the one that's going on right now that won a bunch of awards. Okay, so at the very beginning they put Part 1. Like, they're obviously going to do a sequel to make even more money. Now, here's another thing, too, about David Lynch's Dune. It's a very careful thing. David Lynch spent a lot of time thinking and putting his signature on thought and digging to the deep wellness of the unlimited universe and pulling up all this stuff. They can't take that stuff for the remake. That's David Lynch's property. That's his intellectual property. He should take them all to court and sue them all. But whether David Lynch does that, I don't know. But what they did was they took the whole Marvel kind of universe, Christopher Nolan kind of long style with a long soundtrack going through the whole thing. We've seen it 1,000 times before. Good-looking actors yelling and screaming with big muscles. Josh Brolin completely miscast. That was completely miscast. It did not work at all with Josh Brolin. I love Josh Brolin. I think he's one of our greatest actors, especially in stuff like No Country for Old Men. But it did not work with Dune. It did not work. It did not work, and it was insulting. I will probably try to watch it again because the cinematography is nice. There are some nice acting moments, but very little. Everything is overdone, operatic. And when, these guys are walking along this, like, what is it, a graveyard? If it's a graveyard, say it's a graveyard. What is it? Don't just be mysterious. David Lynch, here goes a motorcycle. David Lynch at least explains very clearly. David Lynch is the most clear director that we have. He's very clear. Even though the stuff is all real kind of, like dreamlike, we know it's a dream, right? We know it's a dream. We know it's surreal or absurd. We're aware of that. Don't halfway do it. Ambiguity kills. Let's see if I can make a right-hand turn right here. I don't even know how to read this map right here. Okay, ambiguity kills in filmmaking. And that's what the remake Dune is. It's an ambiguous mess of just long moments of just Hollywood flash and trash, cinematography. Get it together. Don't dare do that. It's like if they remade Blue Velvet. You know what I mean? You know how many people would get mad? Because they could make money off that. Did like a television series and called it Blue Velvet. Or, I got a better idea. Why don't they do a television series and call it Eraserhead? It wasn't Fox TV, though. Fox TV made a comment about it, but it was just a poor attempt, and they got all the attention in the world because David Lynch didn't care. He didn't care they got 12 or 20 Academy Awards or whatever the amount of Academy Awards they got. They didn't, they deserved it for cinematography. I'll give it to that. They deserved it maybe for editing, maybe. But there's no story there. They all need to go to David Lynch's camp, his screenplay school, where they meditate and they can draw all this stuff that he was bringing out in Dune. Another thing that I'm glad they didn't do, they didn't rip off the whole making the noise and shooting the gun, which David Lynch did very well in the original Dune, where they made that, and then the gun would, fire, all that kind of stuff. They didn't do that as really at all, I don't think, and I respect that aspect. They did bring the worms in, and I thought the worm thing was kind of did work a little bit, and how it shaked the ground and it started getting kind of crazy. So I am going to say some good things about it. Technically, they did explore some technological advancement maybe in filmmaking, so that got them a lot of awards. But the story, they don't even attempt it. They can't even attempt that. And also another thing that they did fail at, the whole gluttonous character that floated around in a ball with Sting, in the original one with David Lynch directed, Sting was in it. The guy that's floating around, the gluttonous thing, they didn't really attack that the right way. It just came off as ambiguous. The guy wasn't big enough. He wasn't gluttonous enough. He looked kind of like fat, muscly or something weird. It was ambiguous. The guy's a lard butt. He's floating around in air above everybody, Sting's flipping out, and that David Lynch came up with, okay? Those are some stuff David Lynch did. Now, remember, David Lynch is a director where George Lucas goes to him and says, hey, listen, we're going to entrust you with Revenge of the Jedi, also known as Return of the Jedi. We're going to give you Return of the Jedi, but we're going to take over Final Cut. Lynch goes, no, absolutely not. He always gets Final Cut. Now, here's another thing, too, about Dune, is he didn't get Final Cut. So we're not really seeing David Lynch at his finest, although I do like Dune. I'm a fan of Dune. I've got the original with the David Lynch one. It's actually the only David Lynch physical form copy that I own. Everything else is on digital. So I've got all Twin Peaks Return. That's all digital. I'm a big David Lynch fan. I met David Lynch. I'm just upset with the fact that they kind of took some of his intellectual property. And this was like the whole idea of the mysterious digging deep, you know, kind of in the dream kind of thing. That's his stuff, you know. They don't get to take that stuff and try to turn it into their own thing. They didn't live on set for 5 years and made Eraserhead. None of them understand anything about filmmaking at all compared to David Lynch. But they tried something, and it was interesting halfway, okay? I don't think the acting was completely there because I don't think the story was completely there. So I'm giving it 8 stars, and that's a high rating for something that's sensitive with ripping off someone's intellectual property, which is what they were doing with Dune. Which I don't even think the studio should have approved of that anyway. But it did get some attention. I am going to rewatch it, so I'm going to give it a more, you know, I'm going to give it another try. I'm going to look at it again and see, you know, it did kind of make me, some parts made me kind of mad because I was like, they didn't come up with this. This was not their idea. This was David Lynch's original idea and take on the book. And plus, David Lynch was the one that was approaching the book in the first place. They would have never turned Dune into a sci-fi movie without the intellectual capability and genius of David Lynch finding Dune in the first place, or whoever gave him Dune, okay? So it should say something like dedicated to David Lynch at the beginning. Anyway, I don't know. You know, I'm no expert. Well, actually I am, but you know what I mean. They've got a Chuck E. Cheese in Pantego. Linda used to be Chuck E. Cheese, that's why I'm going in. All right, so first convenience, I bought a banana about 12 times. So it used to be 8 swipes, point of sale, and you wouldn't get a maintenance fee. Now it's 12 swipes, so I swiped the banana 12 times. I have all the receipts right here, so the point of sale is there, and it's ridiculous. But that's why I'm no longer working for that bank. Although I do use them, but they're the most troublesome bank. And it's just ridiculous. But they do have a good app. So, turned out it was only 11, so I had to go back and get another banana. So, got 2 bananas. One thing about bananas, they get on the end of your thumb, okay? And then it gets on the screen. It gets very, very sticky. It's the worst fruit to work with this thing. Well, it tastes pretty good. Maverick County, or country, sorry. Maverick, try it again. Maverick Country. All right, so we'll get some gas here, then run over to DFW. they're selling in Arkansas right now, and I've got too much family here for right now. Unless they, yeah, the job description was for this, you know, for this area or whatever. That's what they hired me on for. I can't drive 5 hours to Arkansas. They're out of their minds. All right. Looks like mine got a little grumpy and went up a little bit. It was $2.99. Must have woke up and got a little grumpy. Not be damn. No, I'm an old man. I got grumpy. It's not too bad though. 312 isn't too bad. Well, the only thing I've had all day is a banana, but I've decided to kind of cut calories. So what I'm doing is I'm not eating the bread, but I am eating the hot dog. Just as I was approaching, they blocked off my my exit at the exact same time. That fire truck right there is blocking off my exit. Let's see what the accident is though. Do you see any accident? It's up there. It's up on the bridge. So it's July 17th, 1:49 p.m. July 17th, 1:49 p.m. The accident is right above here. Right next to the shockwave, or about 3, maybe 400 yards from the shockwave. That's the shockwave right there, which is Six Flags. The accident that occurred as I was approaching, I didn't see it though. I just saw the results of it. That's the shockwave is right up there. That's where the accident is. So just as I was approaching. I don't know if I'm going east. I think I'm going this way, and then I turn the other. East would probably be the other direction. So I'll turn left at Six Flags. Oh wow, it's still running right now. That's a good idea right there. Check it out. Is 100 emoji. All right, so we're here at Centerport, and it's an area where American Airlines kind of thrives with all their employees. My mom worked at Centerport for a long time, which is over that direction. And this is actually Channel 5, NBC Universal. So they're a studio. There's the Peacock right here. I'm gonna get a photo with it. The Peacock, Channel 5, right there, with your anchor, me, Cole Spivey. Huh? Get a photo? All right, there's the plane. So we're gonna go take a look at it. There is a camera up here. I think they have a kind of a showcase, so I'm gonna go in and kind of look at things. And it's for NBC. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I just haven't had really time. And I finally found myself here. And I've always dreamed of being kind of like an anchorman, you know, like Ted Koppel and things like that. Here's some of it right here. That's the old school camera they used to use for television. Now what I'm holding right here in my hand is about the size of the new camera. At least that we broadcast with YouTube on. Let's see if they're even open. Oh, they are open. Hi. Oh, I was wondering, is it possible if I could see the inside of your lobby, or do y'all not allow that?
No, that's not allowed.
Oh, it's not. Okay, it looked like from the outside, that looks like, you know, some of these places like Fall has like a museum, but this is actually a real office.
No, that's a real office.
Oh, okay. I just noticed you have a camera right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all right, thank you.
No problem, thank you.
So there's their camera right there. That's the old school one right there. And this is what their office looks like right here. When I was in New York, there was something similar, but you could actually go in and they'd let you walk around the lobby, things like that. But they don't allow it, so. But anyway, this is actually where they are at. It's Universal and it's NBC. It's part of NBC. Pretty cool. The New York one, I walked right up to the desk and dropped off my headshot and everything. I just felt like it was necessary to do, but they're a little stubborn here in this one. Here's two of the workers right there for NBC. NBC Studios right there. Yeah, they're walking that way. I don't know what they do. They may run coffee for people. Those could be PA, production assistants or something. Anyway, looks pretty cool. I just wanted to kind of show it for right now. It looked like they recognized me though, because they had big smiles on their faces. Like, is that dude from YouTube? YouTube's bigger than NBC now anyway. YouTube's far bigger than NBC by far. 100%. NBC's small change compared to YouTube. People don't even realize the power of YouTube. But NBC is still pretty cool though. And that's their old school camera. That's what I wanted to get. Really cool. Old glory, reminding us of our First Amendment right to speak freely and clearly. Or we can mumble stuff like Marlon Brando, it doesn't matter.
I've got my ticket. I've got and I've got McDonald's, and then after that, what I'll do is I'll get on the Please Subscribe show. I spirit will next to the living ghost of Sam Elliott.
What are you talking about, Marlon Brando? Oh, Marlon Brando joins the show today. Well, Marlon Brando, I know a lot about you. I wanted to mostly talk about you getting the part in Streetcar Named Desire and hanging out with Tennessee Williams. Talk about that.
Oh, dear God, Cole, you wouldn't even understand. At that time, I hung around bars in that area. I was kind of like a male hustler. And then, of course, they told me about Tennessee Williams, and I said, "Well, where is he from? Was he from Tennessee?" And they said, "We don't know. He's somewhere from the South, and he's writing a play called Streetcar Named Desire, and he's looking for a grumpy, kind of gritty Stanley Kowalski." And I said, well, I'll immediately go to Tennessee Williams' place, and I know a lot about a lot of stuff. I'm a genius.
Oh, is that true, Marlon Brando? You went to Tennessee Williams' house?
Yeah, I went over to his house. He said immediately he was having problems with his plumbing. I said, I can work on that. I'm very good. I looked around and water was everywhere. I said, horror. And then I began attaching pipe together, and I was able to fix the plumbing. And Tennessee Williams said, "You're casted in Streetcar. You'll make a great Stanley." And I said, I appreciate it. And then shortly after that, I put on some Levi's and went out there and jumped around, acted like a monkey, and they made me a movie star.
That's wonderful, Marlon. We'll be talking to you a little bit later. Appreciate that story.
No problem, Cole. Anytime I can chime in. Is there any particular reason why you're going to film Skylink right here?
Well, I think Skylink is interesting. I think it's a cool thing. We're going to a parking garage.
I notice that you go to a lot of parking garages and before lunch and things like that. You eat these salads and all kinds of healthy stuff.
Well, we're going to a parking garage right now. Just chill out. So this is 6C right here. And we're straight up that way and turn right here. Sorry I have to do that or completely forget where I park. This is another way I try too, because the entry is different too right here. And we got entry E7, so I'm like right there. And then what I do is I fill up my gallery by going. So writing is very difficult to do because if you don't have the inspiration, then you'd be lying if you continue. So I'm waiting for the last inspiration, or at least some inspiration, to hit for the Skinny Pete and Friends teleplay, which is a Better Call Saul sequel. So I'm waiting for that last little moment. I'm gathering some of the dialogue right now. It's like stored in like weird luggage in my mind. That's why I'm using this to show you the luggage. As soon as I find out, then I'll be able to get that dialogue and put it down in there and it'll be ready to go. I've got some of it, but it's kind of like a windstorm in my mind. It's like that scene in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, John Hughes, you know, where it's Del Griffith and he's talking to Neil Page. He's like, something about you have a better chance of finding a three-legged something than getting a hotel room tonight or something like that. And he points over there, and then he looks over there, and Steve Martin looks over, and he goes like, yeah, that's okay, yeah. Because he's talking him into getting a hotel room or motel room in town. Del Griffith is to Neil Page. He says some weird saying like, you know, it'd be better than finding a three-legged something. I don't remember what it was. It hits me right now. Make sense? Not getting shaggy yet. Just got a haircut not that long ago. And there's the TSA baggage claim. I don't know what clear is. I was looking at clear earlier. Oops, sorry about that. Sorry, sorry. That's okay. Sorry about that.
There's world-class art in our cultural district, an array of contemporary Texas cuisine from Sundance Square to the near South Side, and unforgettable family fun at the award-winning Full Art Zoo. Discover the modern West in our historic stockyards and nightlife in our new entertainment district, Mule Island. You get the best of both worlds here in an unexpected city.
Cool, a whole Bible course? You're kidding me, oh really? I actually know a lot about Genesis. I read a lot about Genesis, it's pretty cool. Yeah, love it, yeah. Me too, you keep it up.
Excuse me, sir, are you
Alright. It's like that. There's a mural like right over here. I didn't notice it when I was in this area before off of Ross. But there's a mural, which is actually a really good one. See if I can pull up next to it, kind of show it to you. In memory of my father, Billy Brown, is what it says. It's 1950 to 2016. This was done in memory of someone's father. In memory of my father, Billy Brown, 1950. This is actually really cool. I'm gonna get out for this for a second. I didn't even see this before. Huh. So he did this in memory of his father. Looks like someone painted over part of it right here. So he got a bandino with his guns out, and he's coming up to this thing right here, and everybody's hands are up like they're surrendering. That's really cool. I really like it. In memory of my father, Billy Brown, 1950, 2015. I'm gonna get a photo in front of it.